Greetings, survivors. We've endured another night. Take a seat, catch your breath, and subscribe to our channel. The next tale begins now. The hum of the transmitter filled the booth. Outside, the wind whistled through the cracks in the barricade. I adjusted the microphone, cleared my throat, and pressed the button. 1 year since the outbreak began, and I remained here, still speaking to phantoms. Good morning to anyone tuning in. This is Safe Zone 7, broadcasting on 104.9 FM. If this signal reaches you, you're not alone. I let the words linger for a moment before proceeding. The script rarely varied. Location, supplies, routes, weather, hope, if I could muster any within me. Temperatures are falling. We're expecting lows in the 40s by tonight. If you're out there without shelter, head northeast toward the old grain depot on Route 9. It's clear as of yesterday morning. Water is safe. No activity within a quarter mile. The power flickered. The lights dimmed, then stabilized. I glanced at the generator gauge, still in the green, but just barely. We'd been rationing fuel for 3 weeks now. Each broadcast felt like borrowing time we didn't possess. Outside, the landscape stretched gray and flat beneath October clouds. Safe Zone 7 perched at the edge of what once was farmland. Wheat fields overtaken by weeds. Irrigation ditches clogged with overgrowth. Beyond the perimeter fence, the forest loomed. Dark pines ascended the foothills toward the Cascades. Somewhere out there, past the tree line, lay the town weed, forsaken. I tried to push the thought aside. I reached for the coffee mug beside the soundboard. Cold. I drank it anyway, the bitterness coating my tongue like ash. The taste evoked memories of the old studio, when coffee arrived hot and the worst news was traffic jams. Back when October meant pumpkin spice and football games, not rationed goods and perimeter patrols. A crackle pierced the static. Zone 7, this is Runner 2. Copy. I switched channels, leaned into the mic. Go ahead, Runner 2. Running late on the morning check-in. Had to detour around the intersection near Willow and 5th. There's movement out here. My hand paused over the frequency dial. How much movement? Can't say for sure. Maybe a dozen. They were just standing there. Didn't chase us, didn't turn, just stood. I jotted it down on the map spread across the desk. Willow and 5th, red circle, another one. The map was now littered with them. Clusters of red ink marking areas we'd learned to avoid. Some were small, just a few. Others spanned entire blocks. Understood. Stick to the alternate route. Report back when you're clear. Copy that. The line fell silent again. I stared at the map, at all the red circles accumulated over the past year. Some zones we'd reclaimed, others we'd lost. Most we simply evaded. The pattern eluded logic. Sometimes they gathered near water, sometimes near roads, sometimes they lingered in empty parking lots for days, swaying slightly like trees in a breeze. I picked up a pencil and noted the time next to the circle. 08:15. Details mattered. If we were to survive this, we needed to comprehend them. Not that understanding had proven much help so far. Through the window, I could see the main courtyard. A few people were already awake, moving between buildings. One woman carried a bucket toward the well. A man inspected the locks on the storage shed. Normal routines now defined normalcy. Everyone moved with purpose, heads on a swivel, never fully at ease. You learn that quickly, or you didn't endure. I turned back to the mic, pressed the button again. For those of you out there listening, here's your daily update. Safe Zone 7 remains secure. We have clean water, limited medical supplies, and space for new arrivals if you can reach us safely. Our coordinates loop at the end of this broadcast. If you're inbound, approach the North Gate during daylight hours only. Announce yourself at the fence line. We will verify before granting entry. Do not approach after dark. We will not open the gates after sunset for any reason. I paused. Let that sink in. We'd learned that rule the hard way. Current weather conditions: overcast, temperature 38 degrees, winds from the northwest at 10 miles per hour, rain expected by midday. If you're traveling, find shelter before the storm hits. Wet clothing is a death sentence out there. The static hissed back at me, indifferent. At 08:15, I opened the message relay segment. If you're trying to reach someone, send your transmission to this frequency, and I'll broadcast it in the next cycle. No guarantees, but it's worth a try. The first one came through almost immediately. A woman's voice, thin and worn. I recognized it now. Heard it so often, I could picture her face, though we'd never met. This is Maribel. I'm searching for my brother, Hugo. Last I heard, he was heading toward the industrial park near Greenfield. If anyone's seen him, please respond. He's 6'2", brown hair, scar on his left hand from a fishing accident when we were kids. Please. I played it back through the transmitter. Let it drift into the static. 3 weeks. She'd been sending that same message for 3 weeks, tweaking it slightly each time, adding details as if more information might summon him back. I didn't tell her no one had replied. I didn't need to. She knew, but she persisted anyway. And I kept airing her message because that's what we did now. We kept trying. We kept hoping, even when hope felt like a luxury we couldn't afford. The second message was simpler. A man asking if the pharmacy on Dane Street still had insulin. His voice was calm, matter-of-fact, but desperation lurked beneath. I made a note to check with the scavenger teams. Insulin was priceless. If any remained, we needed to know. Then the board lit up again. Field channel, Zone 7. This is Perimeter Guard 3. We've got something. I switched over. Pulse ticking up. What kind of something? Not sure yet. South fence. Could be wind. Could be a pause. Too long. Guard 3. Repeat your last. Standby. I waited, counting the seconds. 5, 10, 15. The faint smell of burnt wiring drifted up from below. I glanced at the voltage meter. Stable, but the scent persisted. The generator was older than most in the safe zone. We'd been coaxing it along with scavenged parts from abandoned hardware stores and gas stations. Eventually, the parts would run out. Eventually, everything did. Through the window, I could see the courtyard. A few people moving between buildings. One glanced up toward the tower, then continued. Normal. Everything looked normal. But I'd been at this long enough to know Normal didn't mean safe. Normal was the moment before things unraveled. I pressed the transmit button again, kept my voice steady. For anyone inbound to Zone 7, we're running standard perimeter checks. This morning, if you're approaching from the south, announce yourself at the fence line. Do not come in unannounced. We will not hesitate. The words felt heavier than usual. We'd shot 2 people last month. Not infected, just desperate. They'd tried to climb the fence after dark, ignored the warnings. We couldn't take chances, not anymore. Trust was a currency we'd exhausted. Guard 3 came back. Zone 7, we've got visual. 2 contacts near the tree line. Distance, maybe 200 yards. Not advancing, just watching. Can you confirm status? Negative, too far out. But they're not moving like living people. I closed my eyes for a moment, then opened them and focused on the map. 2 contacts, south fence, tree line. I marked it with a red dot. Added the time. 08:42. Keep eyes on them. If they get closer, sound the alarm. I'll notify the runners. Copy. I switched back to the main broadcast channel. Kept my tone calm, professional, as if this were just another day, just another report. Nothing to fear. Zone 7 supply team, be advised. South perimeter has possible contacts. Recommend alternate exit via north gate. Check in before departure. A double click came back through the speaker. Acknowledged. I sat back, stared at the red light on the transmitter. Still on, still broadcasting. For a moment, I wondered if anyone out there was truly listening. If any of this mattered. If the woman searching for Hugo would ever find him. If the man seeking insulin would survive long enough to need it. Then I thought of Maribel, waiting for word about her brother. The man hunting for insulin. The supply runners risking their lives for canned food and batteries. The guard standing watch in the cold, scanning the tree line for odd shapes. It mattered. It had to matter. I leaned forward again, adjusted the mic. This is Safe Zone 7. If you're out there, keep moving, stay smart, and remember, you're not alone. We're still here. We're still fighting. As long as this transmitter has power, we'll keep talking. We'll keep listening. Don't give up. Not yet. The static hissed back, but I thought I heard something beneath it. Maybe just wishful thinking. Maybe not. At 0910, I played a message from a father trying to reach his daughter in Washington State. His voice broke halfway through, but he held it together. I admired that strength. Wasn't about avoiding collapse. It was about collapsing and still rising. At 0925, I broadcast coordinates for a cache of bottled water someone had found near the old high school. 24 bottles, all sealed. Not much, but enough to sustain someone for a few more days. At 0928, the power stuttered again. This time, it didn't recover immediately. The booth went dark. The hum of the transmitter died for 3 seconds. Nothing but the sound of my breathing filled the silence. My heartbeat thumped in my ears, too fast, too loud. Then the backup generator kicked in, and the lights flickered back to life. I checked the board. Everything seemed functional, but my hands trembled more than they should have. I clenched them into fists, forced myself to breathe slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth, counting to 4. The transmitter hummed back to life, steady and reliable. I adjusted the gain, cleared my throat, and leaned into the mic. Apologies for the brief interruption. We're back online. If you were trying to reach us, please try again now. Through the static, a voice broke in. Open channel, unfiltered, garbled, desperate, male, I thought, though it was hard to tell. Anyone out there? Trapped in the can't? I grabbed the mic, pulse racing. This is Zone 7. Repeat your last transmission. What's your location? Nothing, just static. I tried again, louder this time. Unknown caller, if you can hear me, transmit your moment. Then reached for my water bottle. Warm. I drank it anyway. The taste was metallic, faintly chemical. Our filtration system needed new cartridges. But we'd been saying that for 2 months. There were always more pressing priorities. Then I heard it. Boots on the stairwell. Fast, uneven. Someone taking the steps 2 at a time. I turned toward the door, just as it slammed open. Guard 3 stood there, breathing hard, face pale, eyes wide. Sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the cold. They're moving, he said. All of them toward the fence. I stood up so fast, my chair tipped backward and hit the floor. How many? More than 2. He swallowed hard. A lot more. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair and followed Guard 3 down the stairwell. The metal steps rang hollow under our boots, echoing in the narrow shaft. He was younger than me by perhaps 5 years, early 20s, with a face that looked like it had seen too much too soon. His name was Cooper. Before the outbreak, he'd studied forestry at some college in Portland. Now, he stood watch on a fence and tried not to dwell on what happened to his family. How many are we talking? I asked, as we hit the ground floor. 30, maybe more. They came out of the tree line, all at once, like they were waiting for something. They don't wait. They don't plan. I know what they don't do, Cooper said, pushing through the exterior door. I'm telling you what I saw. The cold hit me immediately. The wind had strengthened since morning, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Rain was coming. I could feel it in the air, taste it on the back of my tongue. We crossed the courtyard at a jog, past the well, past the storage shed, toward the south fence where a small group had already gathered. Lieutenant Graves stood at the fence line with binoculars pressed to his face. He was older, mid-50s, ex-military, the kind of man who spoke in clipped sentences and demanded instant compliance. He'd been running security since the early days, back when we still believed the government might send aid. Report, I said as I reached him. He lowered the binoculars and handed them to me without a word. I raised them to my eyes and adjusted the focus. The tree line was maybe 200 yards out. A dark wall of pines and Douglas firs marked the edge of our cleared perimeter. And standing just inside the shadows, scattered between the trunks, were the infected. They didn't move, didn't sway, just stood there, facing us. I counted quickly, 28 visible, but the trees were dense, enough that more could be hidden deeper in. Their clothes hung in tatters, skin mottled with bruises and open sores weeping clear fluid. One had a jaw hanging at an odd angle, as if the hinge had snapped. Another was bald, scalp gray and flaking. But what unnerved me most were their eyes. Even at this distance, I could see them. Milky, unfocused, yet somehow fixed directly on the fence. "They've been there for 10 minutes, Graves said. "Haven't advanced, haven't retreated. They're just standing there." That's what I said. I lowered the binoculars and scanned the rest of the perimeter. The fence was chain link, 8 feet tall, topped with coils of razor wire we'd salvaged from an abandoned prison supply depot. It wouldn't stop them if they truly wanted in, but it slowed them down, gave us time to react. "What about the other sides?" I asked. "North and east are clear. West has 2 contacts, but they're not moving either." I handed the binoculars back to Graves and pulled out my radio. "All perimeter guards, this is command. Status check. Report any movement in your sectors." One by one, the responses came back. North gate, clear. East fence, clear. West fence, 2 contacts, stationary. South fence, multiple contacts, stationary. I did the math in my head. 30 or more on the south side, 2 on the west. That was more than we'd seen in weeks. The last time a group this size appeared, 7. Too young to recall the world before, too old not to grasp what the infected were. "Everyone not on duty, back to your quarters," Graves ordered. His voice cracked across the courtyard, like a whip. They hesitated, then slowly dispersed. The woman with the child lingered for a moment, eyes on the tree line, then turned and hurried toward the dormitory building. I keyed my radio again. "Zone 7 supply team, this is command. What's your status?" A burst of static, then a familiar voice. "This is Runner 1. We're 3 miles out, heading back on the northern route. ETA, 20 minutes. Be advised, we have multiple contacts on the south and west perimeters. Do not approach from those directions. Confirm you're using the north gate." "Confirmed. North gate. We'll signal when we're in visual range." "Copy that. Stay sharp." I clipped the radio back to my belt and looked at Graves. "We need to fortify the south fence. If they push, that's where they'll hit." "Agreed. I'll get the barricades moved and double the watch. I want eyes on that tree line every second." Graves nodded and turned to bark orders at the guards. I stood there for another moment, staring at the infected through the fence. They still hadn't moved, just stood there, waiting. For what? I didn't know. Then one of them, a tall figure near the center of the group, tilted its head slowly to the side. The motion was wrong, too fluid, like the bones inside had softened. Its mouth opened, jaw clicking, but no sound emerged. I felt a chill run through me that had nothing to do with the wind. I climbed back up to the radio booth at 0945, pulse still elevated, hands still trembling slightly. The transmitter was still running, still broadcasting the loop I'd set before leaving. I switched it off and sat down at the desk, trying to gather my thoughts. The infected didn't behave like this. They didn't gather. They didn't wait. They moved when they sensed prey, sound, movement, heat. Once they locked on, they didn't stop until they caught you or lost the trail. But standing still, watching, that wasn't their pattern. Unless something had shifted. I shook my head, pushed the thought away. Nothing had changed. They were the same mindless, shambling corpses they'd always been. We were just tired, stressed, seeing patterns where none existed. I pulled the mic close and pressed the transmit button. This is Safe Zone 7, emergency broadcast. We are currently experiencing elevated activity on our southern perimeter. If you are inbound to this location, use extreme caution. Do not approach from the south or west. Repeat, do not approach from the south or west. Use the northern access route only. We will maintain watch, but we cannot guarantee safe passage if you deviate from these instructions. I released the button and sat back. Through the window, I could see the courtyard below. Graves had mobilized the security team, 8 people total, not counting the perimeter guards. They were dragging metal barricades toward the south fence, reinforcing weak points. Someone had broken out the rifles, passing them to anyone who could shoot straight. We had maybe 200 rounds of ammunition left. After that, it was baseball bats and improvised weapons. Not great odds if the infected decided to push. My radio crackled. Zone 7, this is Runner 1. We have a problem. I grabbed the handset. Go ahead, Runner 1. We've got visual on the safe zone, but there's movement between us and the north gate. At least a dozen contacts. They're not facing us. They're facing the fence, just like you described. My stomach dropped. Can you detour? Negative. There's a ravine on our east side, too steep to cross with the supplies. West side would take us straight into the group you reported earlier. I looked at the map on my desk, tracing routes with my finger. No good options. If they waited, they'd lose daylight. If they tried to punch through, they'd draw every infected in the area straight to them. How much supply are we talking? I asked. 2 crates, canned goods, medical supplies, batteries, maybe 80 pounds total. I closed my eyes thinking. We needed those supplies, but we needed the runners more. Can you stash the supplies and come back light? A pause. We could, but if we leave them, no guarantee we'll get them back. I know, but I need you alive more than I need those crates. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, understood. We'll mark the location and return on foot. Should be able to move faster without the Wait. Good. Stay low. Stay quiet. If they turn toward you, do not engage. Just run. We'll cover you from the gate when you're in range. Copy that? Runner 1 out. I set the radio down and pressed my palms against my eyes. 2 crates of supplies gone. That was a week's worth of food for the whole zone. Maybe more. But if we lost the runners, we'd lose far more than food. Through the static, another voice broke in. Not one of ours. A woman's voice. Shaky, high-pitched with fear. Is anyone out there? Please, I'm in the old church off Highway 20. I can see them outside. They're trying to get in. Please, if anyone can hear me. The transmission cut off abruptly. I grabbed the mic. Unknown caller, this is Safe Zone 7. What is your location? Repeat, what is your exact location? Nothing. I tried again. If you can hear me, try to get to higher ground. Lock yourself in. Make noise only if you have a clear escape route. We're monitoring this frequency. If you can transmit again, we'll try to help. Silence. I switched frequencies. Tried the emergency band. This is Safe Zone 7, broadcasting on all emergency channels. If anyone near Highway 20 just transmitted a distress call, please respond. We need your coordinates. Static. Just static. I set the mic down and leaned back in my chair. My hands were trembling again. I clenched them into fists, forced myself to breathe. The woman in the church? If she was real, if that transmission wasn't just a recording, looping from some abandoned station, she was probably dead already. Or worse, there was nothing I could do, nothing any of us could do. I turned back to the main broadcast and pressed the button. To anyone listening, this is Zone 7. If you are trapped, barricade yourself in. Upper floors are safer than ground level. Make as little noise as possible. The infected are drawn to sound and movement. If you have a weapon, conserve ammunition. Headshots only. Body shots won't stop them. If you don't have a weapon, improvise. Blunt force to the skull. Anything sharp, driven through the eye socket. They're strong, but they're not invincible. I paused, swallowed hard. And if you're alone, try not to be. Find others. Safety in numbers. We're stronger together than we are apart. The words felt hollow even as I spoke them. But I kept going because that's what we did. We kept talking. We kept broadcasting, even when it felt futile, even when we knew most listeners were likely gone. At 10:15, Graves radioed in. The south fence was reinforced. The guards were in position. Ammunition distributed. We were as prepared as we could be. At 10:30, Runner 1 checked in again. They'd stashed the supplies and were moving on foot. No contact yet, but they could see the infected near the north gate. Still motionless, still watching. At 10:45, the rain started. It came down hard and cold, drumming against the roof of the radio tower, turning the courtyard below into a slick expanse of mud and puddles. I watched through the window as people scrambled for cover, pulling tarps over supply crates, securing anything that might blow away in the wind. The infected didn't react to the rain. They just stood there, water streaming off their ruined faces, clothes plastered to their bodies, waiting. I turned back to the mic and made another broadcast, updating weather conditions, warning anyone out there to find shelter before hypothermia set in. Then I played another message from the queue. A man looking for his wife, last seen heading toward the coast. His voice was calm, measured, but exhaustion simmered beneath. He'd been searching for months. I wondered if he'd ever find her. I wondered if he even wanted to anymore, or if he was just going through the motions because stopping meant admitting she was gone. My radio crackled again. Zone 7, this is Perimeter Guard 2. We've got movement on the east fence. I grabbed the handset. What kind of movement? Contacts approaching from the forest. 5, maybe 6. They're not coming fast, but they're coming. South fence still holding. Affirmative. No change there. I marked it on the map. East fence, 6 contacts. That brought the total to nearly 40. Too many. Way too many. Keep me updated, I said. If they breach, sound the alarm immediately. Copy. I switched to the command channel. All units, be advised. East fence now has contacts. We are surrounded on 3 sides. North gate remains our only clear exit. If evacuation becomes necessary, that's our route. Confirm receipt. 1 by 1. The confirmations came back. I stared at the map, at the red marks clustered around our perimeter, and felt a cold weight settle in my chest. We were boxed in. If they pushed, if they all pushed at once, we couldn't hold. And if we evacuated, where would we go? The next safe zone was 40 miles east, through terrain we hadn't scouted in months. We'd lose people on the road, maybe most of us. But staying here and getting overrun wasn't an option either. I picked up the mic and pressed the button. This is Safe Zone 7. I need to be honest with you. Our situation is deteriorating. We have multiple contacts on 3 sides, and our resources are limited. If you're out there listening, if you're thinking about coming here, don't. Find another way. Head east toward the mountains or north toward the river. Anywhere but here. We'll hold as long as we can, but I can't promise we'll be here tomorrow. I paused, searching for the right words. If this is the last broadcast you hear from us, know that we tried. We fought. We didn't give up, and neither should you. And stay alive. Stay human. That's all that matters now. I released the button and sat there in the silence, listening to the rain hammer against the roof, wondering if anyone out there was listening, wondering if it mattered. Then my radio crackled again. Zone 7, this is Runner 1. We're at the North Gate. Request immediate entry. I grabbed the handset. Copy. Runner 1, stand by. I switched channels. North Gate, this is command. Open for Runner 1. Be ready to close fast. Copy. Command. Through the window, I saw the gate swing open. 2 figures sprinted through the gap, mud splashing under their boots. The gate slammed shut behind them, and I heard the Runner 1, welcome back. Report to the command post for debrief. Copy that. And hey, thanks for the cover. Anytime. I set the radio down and rubbed my face with both hands. My skin felt cold, clammy. I needed sleep, food, a shower, all things that would have to wait. I stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the rain-soaked courtyard, at the fence, at the tree line beyond. The infected were still there, shadows among the pines, waiting in the rain. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to fear. Not panic, not terror, just a cold, creeping certainty that we were running out of time. I turned back to the mic and pressed the button one more time. This is Safe Zone 7. We're still here, still broadcasting. If you can hear this, hold on. Don't give up. We're not done yet. The static hissed back, indifferent. Then I heard it. Footsteps in the stairwell. Fast. Heavy. Someone shouting my name. The door burst open, and Cooper stood there, soaked with rain, eyes wide. "They're moving," he said. "All of them. They're coming." I was down the stairs before Cooper finished speaking, boots hammering against metal, one hand on the railing to keep from stumbling. The rain had intensified, turning the courtyard into a shallow lake of mud and standing water. People were running now, not in panic, but with purpose, heading to their assigned positions. Someone shouted, "Coordinates." Someone else called for more ammunition. By the time I reached the south fence, the infected were already halfway across the cleared zone. They moved differently than I'd ever seen. Not the usual shambling gait, not the random lurching. They came in a wave, bodies pressed close together, arms swinging at their sides. Some hobbled on broken legs, others swayed like they were drunk, but they all moved forward with the same terrible consistency. A tide of ruined flesh pushing toward the fence. How many? I asked Graves, who stood at the fence line with his rifle raised. 50, maybe 60. Hard to get an exact count with them bunched up like that. I raised the binoculars and counted quickly. 62 visible, more still emerging from the tree line. Shadows peeling away from the pines and joining the mass. 70, 80. They kept coming. West Side reporting similar numbers. A voice crackled over the radio. They're converging on our position. I switched channels. North Gate. What's your status? Clear so far. No movement. East Fence. Contacts advancing. 20 or more. I did the math in my head. Over 100 infected. Attacking from 3 sides simultaneously. We had 8 guards, maybe a dozen civilians who could shoot. 200 rounds of ammunition total against 100 bodies that wouldn't stop unless you destroyed their brain. The numbers didn't work. All units, hold fire until they reach the fence, I ordered. Conserve ammunition. Aim for the head. No wasted shots. The infected were 100 yards out now. Close enough to see details. A woman in a torn sundress, one arm hanging by strips of tendon. A man whose lower jaw had been ripped away, tongue lolling from the exposed throat. A teenager with half his scalp missing, white bone gleaming through the rain. 80 yards. I could hear them now. Not moaning. They didn't moan. That was movie stuff. But there was a sound, a collective noise, like wind through a tunnel, breath rasping through ruined throats, wet clicking as teeth gnashed together, the shuffle and scrape of feet dragging through mud. 60 yards. Someone to my left was breathing too fast, hyperventilating. I glanced over. A young woman, maybe 19, holding a hunting rifle with white-knuckled hands. Her name was Elena. She'd arrived 2 months ago with her younger sister, both half-starved and traumatized. The sister had died from pneumonia 3 weeks later. "Elena," I said quietly, "look at me." She didn't move. Her eyes were locked on the approaching horde. "Elena, look at me." She turned slowly, eyes wide and glassy. "You're going to be fine. Wait for my signal. Aim carefully. Breathe between shots. Understand?" She nodded, though I wasn't sure she'd heard me. 40 yards. The fence wouldn't hold. Chain link and razor wire might slow them, but it wouldn't stop them. Once they hit it, they'd pile up against each other, climbing over their own bodies until they spilled over the top. We'd seen it happen before. The fence was just a delay mechanism, buying us seconds to kill as many as possible before they breached. 20 yards. "Steady," Graves called out. "Wait for the order." The infected reached the fence and crashed into it, like a wave hitting a seawall. The chain link bowed inward, metal screaming under the pressure. Bodies pressed against the fence, fingers curling through the links, pulling. Some tried to climb, others just pushed, adding their weight to the mass. "Fire!" Graves shouted. The first volley tore through the rain, muzzle flashes bright in the gray light. Bodies jerked and fell. I sighted on a man near the center, his face a mess of exposed muscle and rotting tissue, and squeezed the trigger. His head snapped back, and he dropped. I shifted to the next target, a woman tottering on a broken ankle, arms stretched toward the fence. I fired. She went down. Next target, a teenager with half his rib cage visible through torn clothing. Fired. Down. The air filled with gun smoke and the sharp crack of rifles. Bodies dropped at the fence line, piling up like sandbags. But for every one that fell, 2 more pressed forward, climbing over the corpses, getting closer. The fence groaned. "Reload!" someone shouted. I dropped the empty magazine and slammed in a fresh one. My hands were steady now, muscle memory taking over. I'd been doing this for a year. Point, breathe, squeeze, move to the next target. The fence groaned again, louder this time. One of the support posts was bending. "It's going to break," Cooper yelled from my right. He was right. The weight was too much. The infected didn't feel pain, didn't care about the razor wire, shredding their hands and arms. They just pushed, mindless and relentless. A wall of dead flesh throwing itself against the barrier. The support post snapped with a sound like a gunshot. A 10-foot section of fence collapsed inward, and the infected poured through the gap. "Fall back," Graves ordered. "Controlled retreat to the secondary line." We backed away from the fence, still firing. The infected funneled through the breach, stumbling over the fallen fence and the bodies piled beneath it. Elena fired 3 shots, dropped 2 of them. A third kept coming, arms outstretched, jaw working, soundlessly. I put it down with a headshot from 15 feet. "Keep moving," I shouted. "Don't let them surround us." The secondary line was a barricade we'd built 50 feet inside the perimeter. Shipping pallets, furniture, sheets of plywood nailed together into a makeshift wall. It wouldn't hold long, but it would buy us time. We reached it and turned, forming a firing line. The infected were spreading out now, filling the space between the fence and the barricade. I counted quickly. 30 down at the fence, maybe 40 still moving. Too many. "Conserve ammunition," Graves shouted. "Pick your targets." I fired, reloaded, fired again. My shoulder ached from the recoil. My ears rang, despite the earplugs. The rain plastered my hair to my skull, ran down my face, blurred my vision. A shape loomed to my left. I spun, bringing the rifle up, and found myself staring at one of the infected from less than 10 feet away. Middle-aged, dressed in the rotted remains of a business suit. His eyes were clouded white, mouth opening and closing like he was trying to speak. His right arm hung useless at his side, shattered at the elbow. I fired. The bullet took him in the forehead, and he collapsed backward into the mud. "West fence is breached," a voice screamed over the radio. "We're falling back to the dormitory. East fence holding, but barely." I grabbed my radio. "All units, fall back to the main building. Barricade the entrances. This is not a drill. We're abandoning the perimeter." The words felt like defeat, but there was no other choice. We couldn't hold the courtyard. Our only chance was to fortify the main building and wait them out. Hope they lost interest. Hope they wandered off. Hope, such a fragile thing. We retreated in stages, laying down covering fire, while groups sprinted for the main building. The infected followed, relentless, spreading through the courtyard like spilled oil. I saw one catch a man near the well. He went down screaming, and then there were 3 of them on him. And then I couldn't see him anymore. Inside the main building, we slammed the steel doors and threw the bolts. Someone dragged a filing cabinet across the entrance. Someone else wedged a desk under the door handles. I leaned against the wall, breathing hard, and tried to assess our situation. 23 people in the building. Maybe 60 rounds of ammunition left. 3 exits. All of them compromised now that the infected had breached the courtyard. And outside, I could hear them scraping against the walls, pounding on the doors, that wet rasping sound they made, like wind through a graveyard. My radio crackled, static. Then a voice, not one, of ours. Anyone out there? This is Highway Patrol Unit 16. We're pinned down at the rest stop off Route 26. Multiple contacts. If anyone can hear this, we need immediate assistance. We have civilians, including... It cut off abruptly, replaced by the sound of gunfire and screaming. I grabbed the handset, heated. Highway Patrol Unit 16, this is Safe Zone 7. What is your exact location? Nothing but static. I tried again. Unit 16, if you can hear me, transmit your coordinates. We'll try to relay for help. Silence. Then faintly beneath the static. Too many of them. They're breaking through the windows. Oh God. The transmission died completely. I stood there with the radio in my hand, staring at it. Somewhere out there, maybe 10 miles away, people were dying, and there was nothing I could do, nothing any of us could do. Graves appeared beside me. His face was pale, streaked with mud and gunpowder residue. "We can't stay here," he said. "If they get in, we're trapped. If we go out there, we're dead. We're dead either way. At least out there, we have a chance." I closed my eyes, thinking he was right. Staying here was just delaying the inevitable. The doors would hold for a while, but not forever. Eventually, they'd find a way in. A window, a ventilation shaft, some weakness we'd missed. And then it would be over. But if we tried to evacuate, where would we go? The roads were compromised. The next safe zone was 40 miles away, through terrain we hadn't scouted in months. We'd lose people, maybe everyone. Before I could respond, the radio crackled again. Different voice this time. Older male, calm. "This is Captain Reeves, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. To any survivors in the Pacific Northwest region, the military is establishing a secure perimeter in the Cascade Foothills. Grid coordinates follow. 45.7219 north, 122.453 west. We have supplies, medical facilities, and defensive positions. If you can reach us, we can provide shelter. Repeat." I grabbed a pen and scribbled the coordinates on my forearm. My hands were shaking. "This is not a rescue operation. We cannot send teams into compromised zones. You must reach us on your own. Travel only during daylight. Avoid major roads. The infected are drawn to them." Static swallowed the rest. I looked at Graves. "Did you get those coordinates?" He nodded. "Cascade Foothills. That's maybe 30-40 miles east of here. Can we make it in this weather with that many infected between us and there?" He paused. "Maybe if we're lucky." Luck, another fragile thing. My radio crackled yet again. This time, a woman's voice, young and frightened. "Is anyone listening? Please, my name is Teresa. I'm holed up in a farmhouse about 5 miles south of the old lumber mill. I can see them outside. They've been circling the house for hours. I'm running out of water. I don't know what to do. If anyone can hear this, please respond. Please." I keyed the radio. "Teresa, this is Safe Zone 7. We read you. What is your exact location?" I don't know the address. There's a red barn next to the house. The mailbox says Patterson. I came here because I thought it would be safe, but they followed me. There are so many of them." I pulled out the map and studied it. 5 miles south of the lumber mill. That put her maybe 8 miles from our position. Too far. Even if we had the resources, we couldn't reach her. Teresa, listen to me carefully. Do you have weapons? A shotgun. Maybe 10 shells left. Conserve them. Only fire if they breach the house. Do you have access to an upper floor? Yes. I'm on the 2nd floor now. Good. Stay there. Barricade the stairs. Make as little noise as possible. They're drawn to sound and movement. If you stay quiet, they might move on. How long do I wait? I didn't have an answer for that. Hours? Days? We didn't know how long the infected lingered. Sometimes they wandered off after a few hours. Sometimes they stayed for days. As long as it takes, I said finally. Stay strong. You're not alone. The lie tasted bitter in my mouth. Another voice broke through. Male, panicked. This is Riverside Medical Clinic. We're under siege. Hundreds of them outside. We have injured people who can't be moved. If there's anyone out there with military training, we need help. We need... The transmission dissolved into screaming. I set the radio down and pressed my palms against my eyes. The voices kept coming. Every frequency, every channel. People trapped, dying, begging for help that wasn't coming. The whole region was collapsing, and all I could do was stand here and listen to it happen. We need to make a decision, Graves said quietly. Now. I lowered my hands and looked around the room. 23 faces stared back at me. Some afraid, some resigned, some just numb, as if they'd exhausted all their emotions and had nothing left. These were my people, my responsibility. For the past year, I'd kept them alive, fed them, protected them, given them hope when there was none to be found. And now I had to decide whether to risk everything on a desperate evacuation or stay here and hope the doors held. I keyed my radio one more time. All units, prepare for evacuation. We're moving to the north gate. Grab essential supplies only. We leave in 5 minutes. People scrambled, filling packs with food, water, medical supplies. Someone grabbed the portable radio equipment. Someone else collected the ammunition. 5 minutes felt like 5 seconds. I climbed the stairs to the radio booth one last time. The transmitter was still running, still broadcasting the loop I'd set hours ago. I sat down at the desk and pulled the mic close. For a moment, I just stared at it. 1 year, 365 days of broadcasts, messages to ghosts, coordinates to nowhere. Hope transmitted into the void, and now it was ending. I pressed the button. This is Safe Zone 7, final broadcast. If you're listening, if you're still out there, we're evacuating. The infected have breached our perimeter, and we can no longer hold this position. We're heading east toward the Cascade foothills, following military coordinates. If you're in the area, if you hear this message, do not come here. Approach Safe Zone 7. I paused, listening to the pounding on the doors below. The infected were everywhere now. A tide of dead flesh, pressing against every entrance, every weak point. For the past year, I've been broadcasting on this frequency, sharing information, relaying messages, trying to keep people connected in a world that fell apart. I don't know if it made a difference. I don't know if anyone was really listening. But I hope that somewhere out there, someone heard these broadcasts and found comfort in them, found hope. My voice cracked. I cleared my throat and continued. To Maribel, if you're out there, keep looking for Hugo. Don't stop believing. To Teresa at the Patterson farmhouse, stay quiet, stay strong. To Captain Reeves and the military in the Cascades, we're coming. To everyone else still fighting, don't give up. The world isn't over yet. Not as long as we're still breathing. I took a breath. Steadied myself. People used to call them zombies, like it was something out of a movie. But they're not zombies. They're just infected, sick. And maybe someday, someone will figure out how to cure them, how to bring them back. Until then, we survive. We adapt. We keep moving forward. Outside, something heavy slammed against the door to the stairwell. Once, twice, the wood splintered. This is my last transmission from Safe Zone 7. To whoever hears this, stay alive. Stay human. Find others. Build something better than what we lost. And remember, you're not alone. Somewhere out there, people are still fighting, still hoping, still broadcasting. I released the button and sat there in the silence, listening to the static hiss. Then I reached out and switched off the transmitter. The red light blinked once and went dark. The booth felt colder without it. I stood up, grabbed my pack, and took one last look around. The map on the desk, covered in red circles. The coffee mug still half full. The logbook where I'd recorded every broadcast for the past year. 365 entries. 365 days of hope. I left it all behind. The stairwell door burst open as I reached the ground floor. 3 infected stumbled through, arms outstretched, mouths gaping. Cooper put down the first 2 with clean headshots. I took the third, the rifle bucking against my shoulder. "Move," Graves shouted. "North exit now." We ran through the building, boots pounding on tile. Behind us, I could hear more infected pouring through the breach. The sound of dozens of feet dragging across the floor, that terrible wet rasping growing louder. We burst through the north exit, into the rain. The courtyard was chaos, infected everywhere, shambling between buildings, clustering around abandoned vehicles. But the north gate was still clear. The road beyond, empty. 3 vehicles waited. 2 pickup trucks and an old van someone had converted into a makeshift ambulance. Not enough space for everyone. We'd have to leave supplies behind. Maybe people, too. "Load up," Graves shouted. "Priority to wounded and medical supplies." People scrambled into the vehicles. I did a quick head count. 21. We'd lost 2 in the building. Elena was one of them. I didn't ask about the other. I climbed into the lead truck, Graves behind the wheel. Cooper jumped into the bed with 3 others, rifles ready. The engine roared to life, loud enough to draw attention from infected 50 yards away. They turned toward us, arms rising. "Everyone ready?" I called out over the radio. Confirmations came back. The van was loaded. The second truck was packed. "Then let's move. Stay tight. Don't stop for anything." Swung open ahead of us, and we burst through onto the open road beyond. Rain hammered the windshield. The wipers struggled to keep up. Behind us, the infected poured through the gate. Dozens of them filled the road like a flood. But we were faster. The trucks pulled ahead, putting distance between us and the horde. I looked back one last time, Safe Zone 7 disappeared into the rain and mist, swallowed by the gray morning. A year of work, a year of broadcasts, a year of hope. Gone. But we were alive. 21 people who'd made it out. That had to count for something. Where to? Graves asked, eyes on the road. I looked at the coordinates still scrawled on my forearm, already smudging in the rain. East, Cascade Foothills. Military says they have a secure perimeter. That's 40 miles through. Infected territory. You have a better idea? He didn't answer, just tightened his grip on the wheel and pressed the accelerator harder. The truck bounced over potholes and debris. In the bed, Cooper kept his rifle trained on the road behind us, water streaming off his jacket. Through the rear window, I could see his jaw set, eyes focused. He'd seen too much for someone so young. We all had. The radio crackled with static. I almost ignored it, thought it was just interference from the storm. But then I heard it, a voice, faint and distant. Zone 7, this is Outpost 12. We received your final broadcast. If you're evacuating east, we're approximately 28 miles from your position, just off the main highway. We have shelter, supplies, and room for survivors. Transmit your location, and we'll send a guide to meet you. I grabbed the mic, hands shaking. Outpost 12, this is Zone 7. Confirm you received our transmission. We are 21 survivors heading east toward military coordinates in the Cascades. What are your coordinates? The response came back clearer this time. Coordinates? Landmarks? A description of the outpost? An old fire lookout tower on a ridge, visible from the road, if you know where to look. We'll have someone watching for you, the voice said. Stay on the highway. Look for mile marker 87. There's a dirt road on the north side. Follow it 2 miles uphill. You can't miss us. I looked at Graves. He was smiling, actually smiling for the first time in months. 28 miles, he said. We can make that. Yeah, I said. We can make that. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. The rain drummed on the roof. The engine hummed. Behind us, Safe Zone 7 burned in memory. But ahead was something new. Hope. Real hope. Maybe the broadcasts had mattered after all. Maybe someone had been listening. Maybe we weren't as alone as we thought. I picked up the mic one more time and pressed the button. This is Safe Zone 7. We copy Outpost 12. We're on our way. ETA, approximately 2 hours if the roads stay clear. Copy that, Zone 7. We'll be waiting. And hey, welcome back to the world. The static hissed, but underneath it, I thought I heard something. Not words, not a voice, just the faint promise of something still alive, in a world that had tried so hard to die. I set the mic down gently,